Is it an interesting time to be at a company like Arencibia and seeing this wider context going on, and you guys have got technologies to enhance the recovery of the supply we do have or the product we do have?
Oh, there's absolutely never been a more interesting time for a company like Arencibia. There's no question about that. And we see that we can answer that question from a number of different perspectives. Just looking at this from an energy and carbon footprint standpoint, we every single system we deploy, we hire an independent. They're called EM&V firms. They're auditors, just like a financial auditor, but for energy and carbon. And they independently verify the carbon and energy benefits of our system. And universally, our systems are generating a reduction in the CO2 intensity of the gas supply chain for our customers, anywhere from 85 to up to 97% reduction in the energy footprint and carbon footprint caused by the gas supply chain required by each manufacturing facility. And so ultimately, given the pressure that we're all seeing with climate change, we're seeing more interest simply from an environmental standpoint. But obviously, when you look at the fundamental economics, for most of our customers, helium supply is probably their second largest single input cost to their process behind their raw material costs. That can vary, obviously, but it is an incredibly significant input cost. And we have a demonstrated capability to reduce that cost for decades by more than not 5%, not 15%, but potentially by 50% or more. So it's a fundamental transformation in the core economics, the core unit cost of producing each end product for our customers. And I think the helium shortage 4.0, and I'm sure Phil knows far better than I ever could, but just in my limited experience in this industry for a bit, less than a decade now, just following this, it seems like every time we think we're out of a helium shortage, there's another one on the horizon. The uncertainty is something that should be addressed from a long-term perspective. And we're seeing smart managers, smart procurement groups, smart facilities managers, smart business unit leaders say, look, why do I have to deal with this cycle every couple of years and have to plan on a 2 to 5 year basis? Why don't I start planning now for a 10-year, 20-year basis and mitigate my risk to all of these cycles? And so those are starting to become not just R&D projects, but things that companies are putting significant amount of effort and capital and resources behind. And that's probably the main driver why Arencibia is growing so rapidly today.
Well, that's great. Thanks very much, Tom. And Phil, would you have anything to add to that as Tom's teed you up there?
Well, I mean, again, having been involved in this business for a long time, I started in the business in 1983, and the first, numbered helium shortage was in that 2006, 2007 period. So, I did experience a 20-year period in the business, 20 plus years, where there weren't shortages every year. I mean, there were shortages when a major source would go down for maintenance for, a month out of a year. So there, it wasn't like there were no shortages, but the big difference in those days was that we had a reliable BLM system with a lot of flex capacity. So we had the ability to, if a source went down somewhere, folks could increase their BLM production. If a new source came on that you needed to absorb a large take or pay commitment, you could turn down production at a source and store your helium. So it was different days, but the one, I guess the constant since we've gone into the shortage era for the last 16 years or so, is that the BLM system has been declining and losing production, and the industry's been on a steady, the major source in the world at one time has been steadily declining, and the industry has lost its flex capacity, and the supply chain is mostly these take or pay commitments that are byproduct plants, and they take maintenance shutdowns, with some regularity, and it's become a just-in-time supply chain pretty much, and it's fragile for that reason. I mean, the lack of flex capacity has caused the supply chain to be very fragile. And the only other thing I could say is that there is a move in the industry, or there has been a move to build new storage capacity. So Air Liquide has a facility in Germany. Air Products announced a facility in Texas at the Helium Summit in December. There's Total Helium is collaborating with one of the other majors to also build a storage facility. So, you know, these things will all help. I mean, if the BLM system doesn't give you that flex capacity, companies are starting to take matters into their own hands to develop some flex capacity so that, you know, every time there's a hiccup somewhere, you have a shortage.